Well, here we are, the end of our series on leadership. We looked at Choose to be a Leader Friday night. On Saturday, the men talked about leading your thought life and leading your relationships. And this morning we talked about follow the path of courage, take the risk. And tonight we want to talk about the leadership model that we need to be looking at. And Bart talked about this yesterday. There's a number of leadership models out there, and I guess there's been a number of leadership models through the years. And sometimes when you go to leadership conferences or whatever, they will say, here's the way people used to govern, and here's the way that you need to govern in this new century. And I think Bart made a good point that actually the only leadership model that's ever been valid is one that Jesus gave a long time ago. You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lorded over them. That's one leadership model. And their great men exercise authority over them. It is not so among you, but whoever wishes to become great among you shall be your servant. And whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Matthew 20, 25 and 27. At least among God's people. That's the leadership model. That's what we always need to be. And that's really not ever changed with time or culture. It's kind of intriguing to me when you hear people talk about the leadership model for our time. It's a little bit, it's closer to this, as if they discovered something earth-shaking, but it's always been there. Jesus had always taught that. But there are other models. There's the commander who's only interested in one-way communication. I'm not interested in your advice. I'm not interested in your input. I want to hear from you. Just do what I say. And I don't have to explain why. Some people parent that way. Do it because I say so, and I don't have to explain why. There's the king. I'm here to be served. I'm here for people underneath me to serve me. You get to a place of leadership and people serve you. So there's kind of the king. And the king and the commander probably have a lot in common. Then there is, and I think a lot of our leaders today are the last one. They're a celebrity leader. They like the popularity, they like the perks, they love the intention of being in charge. They want people to look to them for fulfillment. But when they really get down to it, and they have a way of saying things where kind of everyone tends to agree, like, yeah, I guess I can go along with that. And they're very good at saying something that most people can kind of go along with. But really when you get down to it, and you get down to what is their idea, what is their solution, what is their fix, there's usually nothing there. They sound good. They give good speeches. But when you get down to, but what solution do you have? It's probably more about style than any really substance at the end of the day. And that's your celebrity leader. Yeah, but what answer do they have? They gave a good speech. Yeah, but what real substance do they have to offer? We need to lead for the right reason. There have always been people who have wanted to be in charge for the wrong reason. There's probably people that I remember watching one Western. Bart Bogardus in the 10 Star. He wanted to be sheriff. And Henry Fonda said, yeah, because he wanted to have a hunting license. That's why he wanted to be sheriff. Gave him a license to kill. These people will end up leading and here's the thing, if godly men don't step forward, let me rephrase that. I think godly men always step forward. If men don't choose to be godly, those are the people that lead. Those are the people that walk into the vacuum. You know, a lot about leadership comes down to character, and Fred talked about this yesterday. Leadership and character go hand in hand. Here are some things I would say that you need to have, some character attributes you need to have. If you have this, then you'll lead. Almost like you'll naturally lead if you have this. In Psalm 15, verse 4, in whose eyes a reprobate is despised, but who honors those who fear the Lord, he swears to his own hurt and does not change. Are you able to keep long-term commitments even when they cost you? Even when they cost you. I promised to sell it to that person and somebody else came along and offered me more. No, I still promised to sell it to the person. Then with Craigslist, we found that sometimes. Someone will call, be the first person to call and say, I want it. We'll say, fine, okay. Somebody else will call and say, but I'll pay more. Well, but we already promised the first person that called. Yeah, it'd be easy to forget about that first person that called and just forget them. Who swears to his own hurt. That is, who makes a commitment and it ends up costing him something, but he does not alter. And that's all about, a lot of this is delaying gratification, being unselfish. Keeping your commitment when it's no longer new or novel or popular. Doing the right thing when you don't feel like finishing the task. You're going to get praise and criticism. And you have to be unshaken by both of them. I mean, criticism's not easy to take. But you have to be able to listen to criticism without it discouraging you to the point. And here's something I think that as a young men have a problem with is someone criticizes you and you say, fine. I'm never going to do that again. Fine. Can't do that. You say, well, maybe I didn't do it right, or there's always critics or whatever. But you can't say, I'm not going to do it again. You can't say, fine. You can't be angry like that. That's the one thing about criticism. But the same thing, you got to be able to take praise without it ruining you at the same time. And that's character. You can take a compliment, but you say, yeah, but I still have stuff to work on. You can take criticism, but that doesn't mean everything I'm doing is bad. I'm doing some stuff right. I'm making progress. I'm not discouraged. I'm humble. One writer said, humility isn't thinking less of yourself. I like that. It's not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. I like that. I thought that was good. Humility is not, I'm worthless. I'm no good. I'm horrible. That's not humility. I can't do anything. That's not humility. Humility is, I'm made in the image of God. Humility is, I have talent. Fred made a good point yesterday. If you think you're the one talent man, you're probably not. Is that probably most of us have more than one talent. That's not humility to say, I think I'm the one talent man and little is expected of me. That's not humility, that's an excuse. Humility is, I'm talent, things I can do, I'm made in God's image, etc. But I don't think of myself all the time. I do think about others. And humility is the ability to say, you know what? I didn't get here by myself. I didn't do this all by myself. I got here because of parents. I got here because of good friends. I got here because of good mentors. I got here because of great men in the church. I got here because of a lot of people's help, and I got to this wherever I am today. I got here because a lot of people helped me. That's humility, is you remember all the people that helped you get there. All the great advice that you got throughout the years. Romans chapter 12, verse 3, through the grace given to me, I say to every man among you, not to think more highly of himself than he ought to think, but to think as a sound measure of judgment. This is a hard one. To disconnect your decisions from your feelings. Disconnect your decisions from your feelings. Because you can have some strong feelings. Hey, how about this? Disconnect your words from your feelings. How about that? That's not always easy. Disconnect those words from the feelings on the inside. Because you may feel one thing strongly, but you can't say that. Wouldn't it be good at the moment? In the book of Proverbs, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. And in that would be, do not lean on your feelings. Let biblical principles guide your decisions. Stop reacting to life's options. Stop being a reactor, just reacting. The people you see driving down the highway that are getting so upset about other drivers are simply reactors. They're just reacting. We should have left that at childhood. I have to be somebody that makes life react to me rather than just reacting to everybody else around me. Everything just can't be a knee-jerk reaction in my life. I like Daniel 3. Daniel's friends obviously had some feelings when Nebuchadnezzar says, I'm going to throw you in that furnace of fire. And they probably had some strong feelings that I don't want to go in the furnace of fire. But they did not talk their feelings. They did not react upon their feelings. They simply said, we're not going to bow down to your image. We're not going to do that. You can throw us in there, but we're not bowing down to your image. Being a good leader. We talked about this Friday night. And Rich talked about this yesterday. Good leaders obey. Before I can really expect anybody else to follow or anybody else to obey God, I have to obey God. I think as a parent, that's the case. I really can't expect my children to obey if I'm not obeying God at the same time. I think of Jesus. Jesus was a great leader. John chapter 8:29. The reason for the passage is, here is Jesus, God in the flesh, a great leader, and yet a great obeyer. And he sent me, and he who sent me is with me. He has not left me alone, for I always do the things that are pleased him. I always obey. I always obey. I always like that verse because sometimes we get people that walk around or come around and pose as Christians who say, you don't have to obey. You really don't have to obey. And Jesus would have never told people you don't have to obey. He came and he walked around and said, hey, I always do what the Father says. I always do it. I always obey on every point. Leaders share the risk. They don't lead from a distance. They're right there in the thick of everything. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15. The reason I'm bringing this passage in is because this is what Jesus did in regard to us. We do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who's been tempted in all things as we are without sin. It's like Jesus came down there and said, I'm with you. I'm on the front lines with you. I'm eating with you. I'm sleeping where you sleep. I'm eating where you eat. I'm living where you live. And I'm not sinning. I'm right here on the front lines with you. I'm being tempted like you're being tempted, and I'm not giving in. Follow me. Observe how I do it. Watch me. Imitate me. Men will always follow the general who's on the front lines with them. There were certain Civil War generals like that. Out there, stuff going around them. The men would follow them wherever they would go because that guy is out there with us. Use what God has already given you. Don't wait for the ideal time to start leading, and don't say something like, well, I would lead if God would give me the opportunity. You're probably already given the opportunity. It's probably right there before you. I really like someone said about, sometimes people will pray, God, expand the borders of this, or expand the borders of my, and I like the thought, well, yeah, good, but let's start operating the borders that God already gave us. I mean, look at where you are right now in your life and work there. What borders do you have right now in your life? What abilities do you have right now in your life? What opportunities do you have right now in your life? And start right there. Yeah, I think one young preacher got I think he got some great advice. Someone said, you know what, you're always looking for the big thing. You're always looking for the big spectacular thing. Most of your life is not going to be spectacular. You know, I want to do this. Most of life is not. Most of life is more mundane stuff, day-to-day stuff. That's where you need to start working right then and there instead of waiting for some big thing to come along. I think sometimes we forget that the biggest thing that you may do sometimes is raise your children. The biggest thing you may do is that marriage that you worked on. That seemed maybe routine at times, and it didn't seem very spectacular at times, but at the end of the day, you may show up and God says, you know, your greatest accomplishment is that relationship, among other things. That's a huge accomplishment. It's easy to worry about all the what ifs. Public speaking is like that. What if I get up and my bladder explodes or something like that? I mean, all sorts of stuff go through your mind. Or what, I mean, there's also, what if this, what if that? You ever have the what ifs before that keep you from doing something? What if I get up and freeze? What if I get up and this? What if I get up and forget everything? Now and then, I typically don't have any nightmares about preaching. They're all about my former job when I was working at the grocery store. Those are all the nightmares I have because I show up, no one's done anything for 30 years. It's a frustrating dream. The only frustrating dreams I ever have preaching is I get up and I can't remember what to say. I get up and nothing's prepared. I get up and there's nothing there. All the what ifs. You know, there's a lot of what ifs like that. I mean, we could have done that with this weekend. What if we plan this and no one shows up? That could have been a what if. Huh? Or if we put all this effort into this and nobody shows up? What ifs keep a lot of people paralyzed. What if? What if? And I think that's where Satan has most of his power. Most of his power is in all those what ifs that we roll through our mind of, I don't know if I want to do that because what if this happens? That's a bluff. That's a bluff. You know, let God deal with the what ifs. You know, the ladies did a great job, and individuals pitched in and gave money for the lunch that was brought in off-site. That was all done by individuals. But we could have said, what if we end up with a whole bunch of sandwiches? And I said, well, I'll just eat a whole bunch of we'll just eat sandwiches. And we had some kids that probably could have said, hey, bring them on, keep them coming. Matthew 25, here's the reason for the passage. I know why some men drag their heels on home remodels. Well, if we fix that, then she's going to want me to do this next. And so, some men are like that. I'm not even going to start. No, let's don't do that, because if we do that, then we'll have to fix that. But that means fixing that, and that means replacing that, and that means, and that means, and that means. That means more work. I think there's sometimes men like that. Oh no, I don't want that because that will mean more work. Matthew 25, 28 and 29. Therefore, take away the talent from him, give it to the one who has the 10 talents. Here's a sermon for you. The 11 talent man. There's an 11 talent man in here. Did you realize that? The guy that had the 1 talent, didn't use it, he loses it, and Jesus says, give it to the guy that already has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he shall have an abundance. That's the purpose for that passage. The purpose for that passage is that if you get involved, it's not a curse for people to say, now that you've done this, we want you to do this. That is not a punishment, that's a reward. That's the way Jesus operates. Oh, you went out and you gained 5 more talents? Oh, here's 1 more. Let's see what you do with that. That's a good thing. One writer said, a man knew that he had met the chief of staff's expectations when he received increased responsibility in the rank that went with him. That's how he knew he was succeeding, when people put more on his plate. Don't resent more on your plate. Be glad for more on your plate. I like what one writer said is, leaders are always a couple steps ahead in their thinking. I think that's a good thought. What if that doesn't work out? What if I meet with some objections? I mean, that's the way you, and I think that's such a handy character trait in all sorts of things. You're going to need that in marriage or parenting or whatever. Right? Because, and at work, you're going to run into people who says, well, we can't do that, or we tried that last time. And you got to be thinking like, okay, if they say that, then here's how I'm going to handle that. I'm going to say, well, here's the way. Here's what I've planned. Here's a solution to that. That's the way you get your idea across. That's the way you get something done, is that when the what-ifs come up and people say, well, you go, okay, well, here's the plan I have for that. Let's say that scenario happens, but we can always do this. Here's how we can work around that. Here's how we can overcome that. Anticipate. Isaiah 55:11, so shall my word be which goes forth from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, without accomplishing what I desire. And 1 Corinthians 15:58, which I think is very similar to that, or a New Testament counterpart. Beloved, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your toil is not in vain in the Lord. That is, leaders are aware, people that do stuff are aware that whatever I'm doing always will mean something. Always will mean something. So, remind Derek of that wit of that of Derek, if you have a class with somebody and they never convert, that was not a failure. You benefited and they heard the truth. Sometimes people will say, well, if they talk about, well, what's your success rate of handing out flyers? Well, 100%. I'm able to get a flyer to every house that I want to get a flyer to. That's 100%. Now, if you're asking me what's their success rate, what they do with it, it's different. But my success rate is 100%. I could get a flyer to your house. You know, if you got a no soliciting sign, well, then you miss out. But if it's open season, then you got a flyer there. That's success. Now, what you do with it, that's your responsibility. Whatever you do with it. C.S. Lewis observed, the very man who has argued you down will sometimes be found years later to have been influenced by what you have said. I found that to be true. There are people that I've had conversations with in the past and thought, I didn't help that person at all. And years later, someone will say, you know, Mark so-and-so said you really helped them with that. And I'm going back and remember that conversation. And at the moment, it didn't seem like I'd helped them at all. I mean, and that's what you have to realize. Life is not a sitcom. So many sitcoms, it's like at the end of 30 minutes, everything's resolved, everything's fixed, the children react perfectly, Dad, or whatever, that was so wise, or everything works out. Real life is you give great wisdom and people go, And it's not like, and you don't get any applause from the audience. It's not something that you say something smart and there's this clapping from the audience. Life isn't like that. You might give people wonderful advice. You give people the answer, the right answer. And there is no, there's none of that. And they may go, yeah, but, and you go like, you just got a great answer. You just got the solution. Years later, though, they may come back and say, I thought more about that. Matthew 20:28, Luke 19:10. It's the servant leader. Luke 19 and verse 10. The Son of Man has come to seek and save that which was lost. Well, here's some things that to me help with a servant leader. Don't worry about yourself. Don't worry about your needs. What about me? What are people going to, who's going to meet my needs? Don't even worry about that. I've found that when you're busy in the Lord's kingdom, God's able to reward you in really neat ways, far better than you could ever reward yourself. And be mindful of that. Sometimes you need to step back and say, how has God rewarded me? How did God reward me for that? And you go like, wow, it was pretty cool how God rewarded me. And not just a little bit of the reward. There's a lot more reward coming later, but sometimes the neat ways that God just rewards you in this life is pretty cool. My cup runs over. Your cup runs over. Our cups run over. I can afford to serve others. I don't have to worry about getting my share. My cup runs over. I've got a lot. Getting credit isn't important. All is well as long as God is glorified and the church grows. I like people. I want to see them saved. I enjoy being busy and productive in things that matter. I like to help. I see needs and I act. I'm a self-starter. I'm not even easily discouraged. I'm not looking for a reason to give up. I run into people like that. Sometimes me and Cindy will run into a couple that's looking at a piece of furniture and she wants it and he's like, well, it's kind of, and I know what it's all about. It's all about he doesn't want to pick it up and get in his truck. That's what it's all about. Well, he's just trying to find a reason why we're not going to buy this today. And I'm looking at that guy, I don't want to be like that guy. I don't want to be like that guy that's always trying to stop stuff from happening. The servant at home. I do things without being asked. I see work that needs to be done to do it. I contribute to the happiness and efficiency of the family. Got time for my parents. Have time and patience to listen to my small children and help them do something. Got time to do that. Got time to play with them on the floor. Got time to go in there and work on their Legos with them or something like that. Got time to read them a book at night. You probably heard it a lot before. They grow up fast, they leave home, stuff like that. And a lot of times when you hear that, you go, yeah, heard that before. But it happens. It happens. I've got time for my parents. When your parents grow older, and especially when your parents, sometimes your parents just drop dead. And other times your parents grow old and they mentally start losing it. That's sad. And I guess I would say to all the young kids here, listen to your parents and talk to your parents, because there's going to come a time, if they live long enough, that they're not going to talk back to you. You're not going to be able to ask them questions anymore because they're not going to remember. My mom's getting that way. There's just certain things I can't talk to her about because she's not all there all the time. And so I can't really say that might be a reliable answer, because she'll say, there are times I don't even know who I am, much less somebody else. Just beware of that's a limited amount of time with mom and dad as far as well, they're coherent and they can tell you about their life. Get that all written down right now. The servant husband. Sure, my wife has everything she needs to manage the household. I forget where I was. Where was I? Was I at Home Depot or something like that? It were somewhere like that. And someone was looking at the KitchenAid. And the man was there. And I said, a KitchenAid mixer for a woman is like a cordless drill for a man. That's how essential that piece of equipment is. And she said, yeah. And I said, just got to get her one. That's how important it is. I do what I can ensure that she's growing spiritually. I'm going to help her make it to heaven. 1 Peter 3:7. I'm going to give her time away from the children. Her time. It might be one night a week that you go out. I remember when the kids were little, it was Thursday night, Cindy would go out, and me and Zach and Clarissa, and at times Ashley, sometimes Ashley wasn't always around, we'd go down to Canyon Pearl and get the poo-poo platter. That appetizer had the little volcano with the sternal in it. You roasted little ribs on it and stuff like that. That was neat. That was a neat Thursday night treat. Just me and the kids. I nourish and cherish her. The servant member. I cooperate with the elders, try to make their job easier. I use my talents. I serve when I can. I find and assume my share of the load. What can I do? Where do I need to be serving? And I'm here. You don't have to worry about me. I'm here at the services. I strive for the qualifications of elders and deacons if I'm a man, or if I'm married to a man, I try to get him there. Do my part in protecting God's people from error. I go after the lost. I call people that I haven't seen for a while. People that may have missed. I call them, are you doing okay? Haven't seen you. I do that. I share that load. I help the weak. I help without enabling people in the wrong way. The community servant, I get to know my neighbors, get involved in the children's school, volunteer community causes, watch over my neighborhood, protect women and children, challenge and expose evildoers, do what I can to help godly candidates win. As we close the lesson, goal of our instruction is love from a pure heart. Look out for the interests of others. Bring out the best in other people. Bring out the best in other people. Be compassionate. All leaders want to make themselves obsolete, where they're not needed anymore. Because the goal of a leader is to prepare others to lead. 2 Timothy 2:2. Teach faithful men who will be able to teach others also. The goal of the leader is somewhat to make yourself obsolete. We close with this morning. Ordinary men. Extraordinary men. Look at that list. It's all about character. Here's the conclusion, and Fred came to this conclusion yesterday. I think it was the right conclusion. You really can't teach leadership. You can't teach leadership. You can only teach character. Bad men will lead. But when they do, people get hurt. And I think godly men will naturally lead. And the world will be a better place. That previous list, extraordinary men, that list of all those qualities, anybody who has those qualities is going to be active. Anyone who has those qualities is naturally going to lead. And I think that's right. You don't teach leadership, you teach character. Because both bad and good men lead. But when good men lead, Proverbs 29 verse 2 says, people rejoice. When bad men lead, people go, ugh, people groan. I thought this was a great idea. So many people came together for this. We had the people that came up with the basic idea, a courageous thing. Young men and leadership. Oh, great vision of what a topic that was needed. We had men that stepped forward and said, I'll take those topics, I'll take those classes. Yeah. We had people that would say, I'll do this, I'll make those materials, I'll plan this, I'll plan that. We had women that came forward and said, hey, you guys probably need something on Saturday lunch-wise. We'll take care of that over here, do it as individuals off-site. And we had people that said, yeah, my Saturdays are busy. I'll make time for that. And people that showed up. I thought it was a great idea. Great topic. And the packets that we produced, I'm proud of those. One of those things like, yeah, I'll put my name on that. I'll put our name on that. That came from the Beaverton Church of Christ. That's good stuff. There may be one here tonight that would like to become a Christian and start the path of being a godly person. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. Well, let's be standing and singing the invitation song.